Hello and welcome back to the I Fought the Juice podcast. I am your host, Juice, and I'm here with my co-host as always, Reen. What's happening, Reen?
Rhonda did not tap. She did not get pinned.
Is she paying you to say this or what?
No.
Oh, this is you. Sour grapes or something like that?
No. I mean, I watched it. We didn't have fights, so I did watch WrestleMania. So it was entertaining. I'm sure people got sick of my tweets because I was tweeting pretty much the entire time. Yeah, I sat through it for 7-8 hours, but yeah, it was good for the most part. I don't know if you guys watched it or not, but yeah, sometimes it's my thing, so sorry.
I think that's like what a lot of people did, and it is a big event. We have another special guest here, senior editor at SureDog.com. Ben Duffy's joining us today. Ben, did you watch WrestleMania or any comments about that?
I did not watch WrestleMania. I mean, the only takeaway piece of news from it that matters to me is that apparently Brock Lesnar lost his belt, thus paving the way for him possibly to come back to MMA this year.
Yeah, that was a quick one too, because he usually is at the end of the night, but he showed up at the beginning. So that match was done and over with, and people were already tweeting about, okay, come on, DC, when's the matchup going to happen with him?
Yeah, well, you've been saying for a while, Reen, that you didn't think that was going to happen. Now that he lost, does it change your opinion in any which way?
Well, somebody was saying that we still don't know if he's going to end up in a match in Saudi Arabia. There's an event coming up, so they had that up in the air. From what I was reading, people are upset that Brock is even coming back, potentially coming back. DC's talking about how he deserves this fight, which I really don't think he does. I mean, it's great. He's trying to sell it, but I wanted to tweet back to DC and say, hey, can you just admit it that this is a money fight for you rather than, who's more deserving?
Well, I mean, I think him saying he deserves it is, yeah, I mean, I think he thinks his bank account deserves it. But, yeah, I'm more shocked. I didn't know anything about this. I'm more shocked that the WWE is going back to Saudi Arabia because I know they faced a lot of criticism. But if that's the word, damn, they're going all in. They're doubling down, it seems like.
Yeah, so I'm not sure. Do you remember the dates on that, Ben, on the Brock Lesnar DC fight, the potential date?
I do not.
Yeah, so who knows when it's going to happen. So Stipe has to still sit around.
Stipe doesn't have to sit around. Stipe could take a damn fight.
Yeah, that's true.
Like DC pointed out, like, how have I fought again already and you haven't? So Stipe could fight a contender, beat a contender, and then make it just completely undeniable that he has to get a title shot. But he's not doing that. He's choosing to sit and rake in those Modelo dollars.
Modelo.
Well, I mean, the dude is a fireman too, and I don't know how much firemen make on average, and then I'm sure it changes from state to state, county to county. I mean, he's been a firefighter this whole time, so who knows? Who knows how much money he was raking in this whole time when he was a contender, when he was a champion, and he's still doing it. So I don't think he's hurting for money. I guess he's doing the Nate Diaz / Conor McGregor thing of sitting around, but Conor isn't hurting for money either. But at least like on the Nate Diaz thing, he's not just like, I want a good fight, but I don't know how he's keeping up with all these expenses in Vegas with all the booze and who the hell knows what else he's doing over there.
Yeah, when they were teasing us, Stipe and Jones, when they were teasing us about a potential fight against them two at International Fight Week, I was on board. And then a couple hours later, it's like, oh no, Jones is going to now fight Santos. So it's like, okay, so who's going to fight Stipe? Like, did they offer any fights to him?
I'm now starting to believe, I honestly believe that, I don't know who's going to step in or whatever. I just think he's waiting for a good fight to come up. Like, and it could be against DC or Jones or someone, and he's just gonna step in like last minute, like, oh, I'll fight him, and he'll probably think he'll get more money that way or something. I don't know. If he's not hurting for money, I mean, good for him. But I am a fan of his. I do want to see him fight, but I guess it is weird that he's just sitting around. You'd think the competitor in him would want, would want to do something already. But we're going off on tangents here. We're gonna get straight into this. So we're gonna talk fights. We're gonna talk 236 coming up this weekend, big card. We're gonna talk some news, some matchups, and the news story as usual. So let's get started. From the early prelims on UFC 236, Poliana Botelho is fighting Lauren Mueller. Botelho is going up in weight. She's going up to 125, which I think is a long time coming. She was way too big for strawweight. And I'm looking forward to this fight. I think it can be interesting, and I think it's well matched. I'll start with you, Reen. What do you think about it?
I'm actually looking forward to this one too, because both fighters like to keep it standing. Lauren is strong. Her wrestling is fair. But Poliana moving up in weight, I think she's going to keep her power, have more power. So excited to see that. She's a heavy hitter. She's hurt girls with her body kicks. So, and Pearl Gonzalez had a tough time taking her down. I don't even think she took her down at all when they fought. So yeah, I'm actually favoring Poliana with this fight, this matchup.
All right, fair enough. I like it. Ben, what do you think?
I agree with Reen. I like Botelho in this one. She has some legit wins at strawweight. Like she said, Pearl Gonzalez. She beat Karina Rodriguez. She dusted Hiri Kondo last year. And she does have a flyweight frame. I mean, she was always kind of a big, tall girl for strawweight. I think she's going to fill out into 125 really well. And I think she gets a stoppage in this one. I think she's going to punish. Mueller, trying to get takedowns and bust her up, maybe something to the body, and then just finish her off.
Yeah, Mueller's pretty tough. I like her, but there's been nothing that's stood out to me about her. She has decent counter strikes. I do like that about her. She seems like she's got decent cardio, like she can set a pace, but Botelho going up in weight, I'm not really too worried about her gassing. And I think Reen has a good point too, that I think she's gonna still carry that power and should have good or better cardio. So yeah, I'm with you guys. I'll go with I think a second round TKO, and I think that sounds about fair. Moving up along the card on to the main card, OSP versus Nikita Krylov, part 2. So if you guys don't remember, the first fight happened a few years back at UFC 171, if I recall correctly. OSP choked out Krylov with his, I guess patented Von Flue choke. Well, the first time he did it in the UFC, and did it in a matter of minutes. It was so quick that I think he let it go. I don't even think the referee stopped it. He realized he was out and he let it go. Krylov, this is his second fight back into the UFC. Lost to Jan Blachowicz. I'll start with you I'll start with Ben on this one. What do you think about this one?
This fight sucks. I mean, Nikita Krylov has come a long way since that first fight. I mean, his first couple of fights in the UFC at heavyweight, like the fight between him and Soa Palele, is one of the worst fights in modern UFC history.
I'm ashamed to say that I've never seen it.
No, you are lucky to say that you've never seen it. That fight was some bullshit.
But I love shit shows.
But he dropped to light heavyweight, but even so, he was so bad, and he's come such a long way since that first fight. His individual skills are better. He's a better conditioned athlete. I mean, he looks more like an athlete and a fighter now, but he's still wild, undisciplined, defensively porous. Meanwhile, I mean, OSP is still the same fighter he was 6 or 7 years ago. He fights like you're playing EA Sports UFC, and you threw the controller down a flight of stairs. Like for long periods of time, nothing at all will happen, and then a bunch of random shit will happen all at once that makes no sense, and then nothing will happen again. Like his whole offense, OSP's whole offense seems to be like head kicks and low percentage chokes. Having said that, I've got OSP in this one. Give me Ovin St. Preux via head kick or low percentage choke.
Imagine if he Von Flus him again, man. I mean, at that point, do you just call it a career? Like I got Von Flus twice by the same guy.
Well, considering that in order to get caught in the Von Flue choke, you have to make a mistake. Well, I mean, no, seriously, nobody can put one on you.
I'll say this: it's not even making a mistake. To force the mistake, it's one thing to go for a guillotine, it doesn't work, but to keep going at it, you can just let the shit go. You're really just.
All you have to do is let go. And I know why it works, because people are grabbing desperation guillotines and they don't want to let go because they don't want OSP on top of them to start beating the shit out of them. But you've got to let go.
Yeah, I mean, go on.
But yeah, anyway, I've got OSP, probably via finish, probably via something silly.
Yeah, go out with some honor, man. I've noticed you're right. Nikita has improved, but I think his improvements have been they haven't been that significant. I think it's been his footwork. He's definitely more fleet of foot, but he's always just been like a spammer. I know you said that OSP just spams wild shit, and Krylov does as well, just to a lesser extent. He throws. I don't think I've ever seen someone throw such good kicks and terrible kicks, because he has good form, but he throws naked kicks first of all, and he tries to push forward with them, which I don't know what he's thinking when he does that. That's how he got taken down in the first fight, is just spamming kicks, and OSP just took him down and just gooned him, just fucking overpowered him, and that was basically it. And if you look at the fight with Blankovic, he did better. He was fighting smarter, but still spamming kicks. And before he got that submission, Blankovic basically got him with like a day one basic jiu-jitsu takedown, just hug and just trip the foot, and ended up getting that arm triangle / rear naked choke thing. So I think Krylov's improvements are a little bit overpraised. So yeah, I think I'm with you. I think OSP gets it probably by TKO, maybe first round TKO. How about you, Reen?
Ah, man, I'm going opposite.
Oh, dissension in the ranks. I like it.
Yeah. Because Krylov, he's a super dangerous fighter. He's constantly moving forward. He's looking to destroy, and that's where he easily gets hit, though. And man, OSP does have power.
Remember that he knocked out Patrick Cummings with a going backwards uppercut. I still don't know how the fuck he did that, but he did do that.
Yeah. And to Ben's point, yeah, OSP, man, he likes to sit back and get comfortable, and I don't know if he could do that with Krylov. So, yeah, I'm just going to go. I think he's going to take this one back. Like that 90-second Von Flue choke, it was just a fluke.
A fluke, really?
Yeah. I mean, man, he's never gone a decision. It's either it either gets knocked out or it is a sub. So
he is truly will be killed.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. It could be either super boring or just a brawl.
Yeah, OSP does have some super boring fights too. So, and then Krylov losing to him, he might just have a little bit too respect. So you're right about that. That is a possibility.
So, yeah, I'm still going opposite. Yeah.
All right, I respect it. I full disclosure, I think I'm also a little bit biased against Krylov because he changed his name. The Fighting Al Capone is one of the greatest nicknames in MMA history.
That's
and
right.
Change it, man. That shit ain't cool.
Do you remember his old Sherdog Fight Finder photo when he was wearing like the trench coat with no shirt underneath, and he had a pair of UFC gloves even though he wasn't in the UFC yet?
You know what? I've heard of people talk about that, but I don't know if I ever witnessed it with my bare eyes. But I would always hear about things like that. Yeah, I wish is that no longer on the internet? Can I not find that?
Well, it's definitely not on Sherdog anymore. His management got us a real photo once they moved him out of the Ukraine, but it might still be on the internet somewhere. God
damn, that sounds amazing. Props to that guy, man. Is the guy, I know that the word was always the Hello Japan guy, I forget the fighter's name. Is that still his photo on the Fight Finder?
David, what's his name? No, he's got a normal photo now too.
Oh, that's some bullshit, man.
Oh my God.
You know what we're talking about, right, Reen? That infamous video, the Hello Japan guy?
I gotta look it up.
That's one of the greatest things you'll ever see. I highly suggest you watch the video when you get a chance. But basically, this dude, this ignorant white man, was taking on Shinya Aoki in Pride. And for some reason, he was about to get his back taken, and he decided to just look out into the crowd and yell out, "Hello, Japan." He waved to the crowd and immediately got choked out. It was one of the greatest things I've ever seen in MMA. And this dude, the balls on this dude, he went to Sherdog and said, "You know what? I want my picture to be the picture of Shinya Aoki choking me out as my profile."
That's awesome.
That dude is amazing. And it's fucked up that I can't even remember his name, but yeah, that dude was cool.
Okay, I got
Mad respect, mad respect to that guy. So, okay, so moving on to more light heavyweight, because God knows we can't get enough of them. Khalil Roundtree is fighting Eric Anders. Man, this is a tough one for me to call. I think I'm gonna have to give the reins to you, Reen. I think I got to gather my thoughts on this one. What are your thoughts?
I'm like cracking up. So I was watching Eric Anders' pre-fight interview under MMA Junkie, and I'm laughing because of the comment section. Someone said that he looks like Kevin Lee's older brother.
Yeah,
I
little
kind of
bit.
see it, so I was like cracking up. Man, is this flying under the radar? I like this fight, but I'm not sure who to go with yet. I mean, I have Anders on my notes, but Eric Anders, he's on a 2-fight losing streak. Roundtree's on a 1-fight losing streak. So after that Johnny Walker fight, that knockout, Roundtree said that he went to Thailand after his fight. And he went down there to learn different techniques, especially the clinch. And, he went on a spiritual journey after his loss to Walker.
Oh, shit.
So yeah, I was checking that all out. He loves this match. So does Anders. But, man, Anders, he's just a brawler, dude. He has heavy hands. So I think that it either can go to decision or Roundtree's going to get knocked out again. Because, I mean, his chin is just so suspect.
You know what? I have no idea about that thing of him going to Thailand, but hey, props to him, man. You got obliterated by, I mean, Muay Thai 101 techniques to, go and round out your game. I respect that. I think that's partly going to be a reason why I'm actually going to pick him now. The other thing is, too, Eric Anders is a good athlete and he does hit hard, but he lost to Elias Theodorou, man. And I know some people thought that he won that fight too, but if you don't have any kind of urgency against Elias, if he's fighting that same way, I just think Khalil's gonna knock his head off. So, and his knockout of Gokhan Saki still sticks out of my head, so I think he'll probably knock him out in the first round too. What's up, Ben? What do you think?
I hate this fight. First, I mean, let me comment here that it is not a confidence-inspiring thing when a fighter says they went to Thailand to train. Thailand is kind of the fighter vacation. I mean, Tiger Muay Thai and all these other camps over there in Thailand that attract a lot of MMA fighters. It's super cheap to stay in Thailand. It's a gorgeous country. And for a lot of these fighters, it really is fighter vacation. They go spend, 3, 4, 6 months down there, living fat off their last purse. And, then they will come back to the US or wherever they're actually from for their like real camp where they, start actually getting in the reps and getting their weight back down. But yeah, when somebody says they went and found themselves in Thailand, that does not inspire confidence in me. Having said that, I do like Roundtree in this fight. I mean, I can't get past the image of him dusting Gokhan Saki either. Saki is one of the 5 or 10 most decorated kickboxers in modern MMA history, and Roundtree just completely slept him. And Anders does not do the things that you need to do to stop Roundtree from doing that. I mean, Roundtree, you need to deny him the space and time to get comfortable and launch like the huge strikes that he wants to launch. Anders does not do that. He's super, super, super low volume, even when he's fighting the fight he wants to fight. So, yeah, I've got Roundtree in this one. I could see Roundtree knocking Anders out in the first round and a half. If it goes past that point, it will probably end up going to a decision. And I could see Roundtree either taking it with slightly better volume and more judge-pleasing strikes landed. But at that point, it might be a close thing.
Also, as I was saying earlier with Nikita Krylov, also full disclosure, I have a bias not against Roundtree, but with him because there's a few, the fighters I tend to like, and we're going to talk about this in the main event. I think people who heard the show knows how much I love Max Holloway. I love skinny dudes who can put up a pace and they're tough as shit. That's like my kind of guy. But one way you can win me over is by soccer kicking somebody in the ribs, and I will never forget the image of Roundtree soccer kicking a dude in the ribs in his Ultimate Fighter fight. Ever since I saw that, I was a fan of his, so I'm always going to go with him in a way. So that's another reason I'm going for Roundtree. Moving up, though, to the co-main event, Israel Adesanya versus Kelvin Gastelum, interim middleweight fight, because Robert Whittaker damn near died right before he fought Gastelum, and I whatever they're saying that when he's coming back, I don't believe, because what he suffered was pretty bad, and I hope he takes most of the year off. But anyway, this is happening now. It's basically the top two contenders. I'm just finding it hard to find ways to see Gastelum winning. I know his wrestling's the elephant in the room. I mean, definitely. I know he can take Adesanya down, and I believe he will. I just don't think he can keep him there. Adesanya is so big. I think he's deceptively strong, and on the feet, although he's precise and is very fast and he's game to strike, I just don't think he's going to have enough answers for Adesanya on the feet. What say you, Reen?
You already know my pick.
I don't know. I mean, I know you talk shit about Dirty Bird, but doesn't mean you can't pick him.
I'm definitely rooting for Izzy. I think it's going to be a tough fight, though. But okay, so who's the better wrestler, Derek Brunson or Kelvin Gastelum?
I think Gastelum. I don't know credential-wise who's better. I don't know like college-wise or anything like that, but I think in ring, I think Gastelum's better from what he's shown. I believe I believe he's taken down most of his opponents.
But he's been relying on his boxing. So if he does that, then he's going to get picked apart by Israel. Like, there's no way. And Israel, he has like excellent takedown defense. So, I mean, I kind of see like a Derek Brunson fight again with this matchup too, but
yeah, Brunson might have the worst striking defense in MMA history, though. I mean, he's up there with Ronda, honestly. I swear to God, I'm not even trying to be mean. Like, it is god awful, and he literally runs at punches. At least Ronda would just stay stationary. He runs his face into people's fists and feet.
Yeah. Well, Calvin really needs to close the distance and make it a dirty fight. Constant pressure. You can't give Izzy any respect. You can't. He can't get comfortable in there, or that's it. End of story. He's gonna get picked apart. So it's either a knockout. He could possibly get knocked out, or just a decision win because of the volume that he sets. So I'm an Izzy fan, so you already know my pick.
Decision or finish?
I don't know. Possibly decision because Calvin's tough.
Yeah, I'll give you that. I will give that Mexican that. He is a tough motherfucker. Dirty Bird is tough. Oh, Ben, also, if you haven't heard, Reen and I started calling Gastelum Dirty Bird after all the issues he was having pre-Robert Whittaker with herpes, mono, and cold sores he had on his face and neck and all that.
Dude, he was tore up. Like, the shit he had on the front of his face and the shit he had on the back of his head, like, mop those mats. Like, what?
Yeah.
Doesn't speak well of Rafael Cordero.
Yeah, seriously.
But what's your take on this one, Ben?
This pick might end up making me look real dumb. And if it does, I am more than happy to make a return appearance on the show and let y'all throw tomatoes at me. But I like Gastelum in this one. I don't completely believe in Izzy yet. Adesanya is going to have a significant height and reach advantage on Gastelum, but across his entire career, Gastelum has given up height and reach to every single person he's fought at welterweight as well as at middleweight. I mean, it's how he lives. He lives in a world where everybody is taller, everybody has better reach. And aside from pre-USADA Johnny Hendricks, I can't think of a short, stocky dude who's better at getting inside the reach of a taller guy and better at closing distance on a taller guy than Kelvin Gastelum. So, I mean, I'll believe it when I see it, but right now I'm picturing Gastelum actually able to catch up to Izzy, get inside his reach, use forward pressure, set up his clinches and shots, and either get Adesanya to the floor or make Adesanya respect and fear that takedown enough that he can't really uncork the offense that he wants to. You were asking, Reen, on paper, Brunson has better wrestling credentials. I mean, he's a Division II All-American. Okay. But the thing is, it's never really translated in the cage during his UFC tenure. I mean, he was just kind of running at Adesanya with not much setup and just getting lit the fuck up. I don't see Gastelum doing that. Gastelum is much better at setting up his approaches. So, yeah, I've got Gastelum in this one. And you know what? 30 seconds after that opening bell, I may realize, oh shit, I was so wrong. You know, because like we're going to be able to tell pretty quickly how that dynamic is going to play out.
You think so? That's what I'm not. I'm not count. Like I said that I'm obviously going for Izzy, but I don't count out Kelvin fully as far as the way the fight goes because I don't think this is going to be a one-way traffic either way.
Well, no, just I think within the first couple of exchanges, it's going to be obvious that either Gastelum's ability to come forward and use feints and movement to try to get inside is flustering and stressing Adesanya out, or it's going to be obvious that, no, Adesanya's got this, he's not biting on any of this, and Gastelum's just going to be kind of running at him and getting tagged. I think that'll be obvious in the first 30 to 60 seconds. That doesn't mean one guy's necessarily going to win, but it's the big unanswered question for me.
Gotcha. And it is such a crazy matchup, you know. You could say striker versus grappler, but you know, as we were saying, Gastelum obviously has very good striking in his own respect. Izzy's, I don't know. I don't know. I think sometimes people go the people that don't believe in Izzy. And I'm not saying this about you, Ben, but I've seen some people that don't believe in Izzy. They kind of go back to like the Marvin Vettori fight. I think he's grown leaps and bounds from there. The Tavares fight's the one that impressed me the most because he just styled on him and went 5 rounds. That's the reason why I think a fight like that is what gives me more confidence, even more than the Derek Brunson fight. So I think Adesanya wins a close decision. I think he's gonna have some rough moments, but I just, as far as the dynamic, I think Adesanya is gonna do more of what he wants to do than what Gastelum wants to do. But you've made us some really good points, man. I'm going with it. I'm not going to go back on my decision, but you're making me a little bit more doubtful.
No, don't let me talk you out of it, because like I say, I might be back here next week like just saying, yeah, I'm a fucking retard. So.
I haven't seen the odds on this one. I got to assume Adesanya is the favorite, though, right?
Yeah, he was minus 175, 185, something like that.
Oh, not too big. Yeah, I guess people have that trepidation as well with the wrestling, maybe.
Well, they were also saying that in 14 months he's had how many fights? I mean, how can he keep up with this pace? But I mean, I don't think they realize like he's done this before several times. Yeah, it's in kickboxing matches, but he's done this, you know, quite a few times. Maybe fought 2 or 3 people in one night.
Yeah,
and getting leg kicked and like, you know, kicked in the face. And the training's different, but he's also been training MMA from the beginning.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's debatable as to what's harder on the body, not obviously the head and stuff. Kickboxing is gonna fuck you up more, but that definitely does count for something. And he does have some miles on him. I don't think a lot of people talk about that, but he's still pretty young, and I think he relishes this type of stuff. It's not like 35, 36-year-old Donald Cerrone trying to get 6, 7 fights in a year like that. That wouldn't behoove him at this point. But I think for Adesanya, it's a good fit. So yeah, I think that is a good point. I don't think that will affect him, but yeah, respect to Ben, man. You're going. Yeah, I don't think you're doing it just to be a naysayer. I think you do believe it, and you did bring up good points. So
no, I'm not a naysayer, dude. Israel Adesanya was Sherdog's breakthrough fighter of the year for 2018, and I was actually the one that wrote up the article for it. Like, I've got no problem singing the guy's praises. He's done amazing things, in terms not just of, winning 4 fights in a row that year, but becoming an actual star in his own right, which is almost harder to do than winning 4 fights in a row. I mean, you look at any random UFC card, there's a ton of guys where you're like, oh man, I've never even heard of this guy, and he's on a 3-fight win streak. But when there's 600 people on roster and you're one of like a dozen that the average person can name, that's impressive.
Yeah, I remember Neil Magny when he came off the Ultimate Fighter, and he'd lost that, but once he got in the UFC, he had like 6 or 7 straight wins within like a year, and nobody cared about him. It took forever for that guy to gain traction. But I mean, he's got it, man. I think with a win here, he can become a real star. The question is if he does win, if he can beat Whitaker. That's the one that I'm still not sold on. That's going to take a lot of analyzing for me. But let's move on to the main event. Dustin Poirier versus Max Holloway for the interim 155 title, double interim headliner, because why the fuck not? But this is a great fight, man. This is a rematch, but Holloway was 20 years old, took the fight on like 2 weeks' notice, and was actually holding his own with Holloway, but being a young, reckless fighter, did some crazy jumping, flying knee at an inopportune moment, and I believe he was still a white belt at that time too, so he got taken down and submitted. I sang Max Holloway's praises. I mean, so hard. I've said a few times that I think he's taken over as my number 1 favorite fighter ever, and I'm gonna stick by that. I'm gonna go on record with that. It was Carlos Condit, but I really do think Max Holloway is the guy now. I started watching combat sports through boxing. I'm Mexican, so it kind of comes with the territory. But I remember growing up, one of my favorite boxers was Felix Tito Trinidad, and Holloway reminds me so much of him. Especially watching that Ortega fight in December. Oh man, it's rare that I get that amped up with an MMA fight, and it reminded me being 12, 15 years old, watching boxing fights with my family of just crazy, brutal wars. I'm gonna let you guys. Go with this one because I know I'm just gonna keep on going. I'll start with you, Ben. You've made some good points, and I know I'm just gonna keep going. So I'll start with you. What do you think?
I actually reached out on Twitter today to just kind of my friends and my circle of people that are into MMA, and just said, those of you who are calling this fight for Dustin Poirier, please explain to me how you see him winning. And I did that not to like challenge him or start a debate, but just because I'm having trouble picturing it. And when there's a fighter as great as Dustin Poirier, and I can't envision a path to victory for him, that might be a problem with me or a blind spot with me as much as it is a problem with him. But all of his strengths really seem to feed into Holloway's strengths for me, especially if what I'm hearing is correct, because this morning we ran an article where his coach, Mike Brown, said, yeah, Poirier could take him down if he wanted to, but I think we're just going to stand and trade. Okay. Now, Brownie's a real smart guy. This could be some Art of War shit. Only they know what the actual game plan is. But if that really is the game plan, that gets rid of most of the avenues of victory for Poirier in my mind. And I feel like this is something that I've commented on like 3 times already this show. Like, your audience is going to be tired of me saying it, but there haven't been many people who've beaten Max Holloway, and the ones who have either took him down or they had enough of a credible threat of the takedown that it affected the way he conducted his stand-up. If Holloway believes Poirier isn't even going to try to take him down, it's going to be a wood chipper. I don't think there's anybody within a weight class of him in either direction who can hang with Max Holloway right now in a pure stand-up fight. He's a complete machine. He does things that nobody else in the UFC can do. I mean, just the way that he will throw kicks to the leg, body, and head with both feet while coming forward and switching stances is completely insane. And just everybody he fights now, once either he's decided they aren't going to try to take him down or has decided they can't take him down, he just starts rolling downhill on them. He did it to Aldo twice. I mean, Aldo arguably won the first round of both of their fights, but pretty soon Holloway just started rolling downhill. I mean, he's willing to stand in exchange because he has an incredible chin. He's very solid defensively. So it looks like exchanges, but, Holloway's landing 2 for 1. He's landing harder. He's coming forward, and the other guy just withers. And as great as Dustin Poirier is, and as much as I don't want to see either of these guys lose because they're such good guys in the sport, I think Holloway's going to chew him up, especially if they're serious about Poirier not even really putting a serious effort into bringing the fight to the ground.
Yeah, that's not going to be a good night, especially with the switch stances. I think Dustin will have a huge problem with that. So his best bet would be to take him down.
The thing that I've noticed with Poirier too, it seems like he's very rote in his strikes. He seems like he's thought of what he's gonna throw before he throws it. I don't think I don't think most of his stuff comes naturally. He throws good combinations. He flows into them, but I think he already knows. I'm gonna throw a jab. I'm gonna throw a 1-2. I'm gonna throw a leg kick. And I just think against a guy like Max is like he could just switch it up on you on a moment's notice, and you're not gonna see what's coming.
Yeah. You know what I heard today too? Dustin's already thinking about moving up in weight because he's having a tough cut.
Jesus Christ.
155. So I heard that earlier. He was actually talking about it. He's already discussing possibly moving up like Pettis did. So now that I heard that too, I'm like, all right, this might be an easy one for Max.
Isn't it funny that in this whole time that we've been talking about it, Max's weight has not been brought up once, and I think there's a reason for that. I think with how big he was and seeing his issues, I don't think there's any way that the weight is a detriment to him, right? It can only be his advantage.
Oh yeah, he's happy. He doesn't have to cut that much weight at all. His power is gonna be there, right?
He walks around at like 190, so he still has to cut weight.
Is he 190? Oh my god, I thought it was like a little bit more.
He's a big motherfucker. I don't know what it was. Maybe you guys can refresh my mind. I want to say maybe 235. One of the recent pay-per-view, it may not have been a pay-per-view, but one of the recent UFC events, he was in the crowd and he just looked inflated, man. You see in his face like, damn, this dude's chubby as shit, man. He almost didn't look like himself. It almost reminded me of like Rumble in a way, like when he got at 170.
It doesn't help that it shows in his face.
Yeah. Well, what about how big is Brian Ortega? Because that dude, he needs to move up too.
I think Brian's like 170-ish, right, Ben?
No,
okay.
Ortega walks around over 180 as well.
Yeah.
Ortega has flat out said that he doesn't want to fight more than twice a year because it takes him so long to make the cut to 145. Jeez. Like that's his whole thing. He's like, I don't want to fight more than twice a year. It's too hard and it takes too long to make the cut.
Wow. I don't know how these guys do it with the weight cuts. Jesus. Okay. Yeah. Max, all I think about is volume with Max and just Matrix style. Like, he's just going to school Dustin. And I don't see it as an interim fight. Do you guys see it as an interim fight? I just see it as a really good fight.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same boat.
The interim title thing is kind of meaningless to me. It's the whole thing where the UFC really, really hates to run a pay-per-view without a title fight at the top. That's the whole way we got into this. I mean, if you scroll back through their history, there's very, very few pay-per-views where there was not a title fight as the headliner. And the ones that there are, it's usually because there was some sort of injury or last-minute thing. This very same fight, if this was just a fight night card, would just be a number one contender fight, which is what it is. It's the same thing as Covington versus RDA. It was a number one contender fight. Like, it was understood that whoever won was going to get the next shot at Woodley, but they had to make it for an interim title just because.
And obviously, seeing what happened to Covington, that's not even a sure thing.
Well, that's what happens when you're like that big an asshole and that odious a person. Because, otherwise, he would have been next in line. But, oh well.
All right, Reed. What? I know you're going with Max. It definitely seems like, but how do you see it going down?
Man, I don't know. I like both fighters. It's just so tough. I just want to watch it. I'm still going with Max. I just want to watch it. I want Dustin to win too, though, because finally, he's grinded it out for years now, and yeah, it would be cool to see him with the strap, even if it's an interim strap. But
what I love about this fight is I'm a giant fan of Holloway, and I am a big fan of Poirier too. What I love is that, it's not quote unquote the real belt. It is kind of glorified number one contender fight, but it's cool that this was a rematch. They didn't call each other out. It just happened, and both of these guys worked their way up the hard way. Holloway became champ. 12 consecutive wins to finally get to Jose, and then beats him again. Everything they've gotten, they've earned. There's never trash talk, anything like that. And Poirier too. The dude he's taken out, Alvarez, Gaethje, Pettis, back to back to back. This is amazing. I love just that. This is totally merited. All this shit that people talk about with the UFC lately of everything's a show and everything's about shit talking. I love that it has nothing to do with this. That has nothing to do with this fight. I'm obviously gonna go with Holloway too. Before we started recording, I still think it's gonna be a good fight. I still think it's gonna be back and forth. I still think it's gonna be a war. And I was going with maybe 49-46 decision for Holloway. I think that switch rounds, especially the early rounds, and then Holloway would take over at the end. And I still believe that, but I'm now thinking a 5th round stoppage for Holloway is gonna be. I think that's the way it's gonna happen. And I'm gonna get a little bold here. I actually think he might submit him. I know he's saying that he doesn't really care about the first fight, and he's not trying to like go for revenge and get that one back. Obviously, he wants to win, but I think if he sees the opportunity, if he's wilting, especially the way that he fights, people tend to quit with him. I don't think he's just gonna put the coffin nails and punch him till he stops. I think he's gonna see him, against the octagon, wilting, and I think he's gonna go for like a guillotine or a rear naked. So I'm going with a 5th round submission. What do you say, Reen, for method?
I'm not sure, but I'm gonna be looking for a mini blast because he called it last time. I don't know if you guys saw that video or not. He's like, "Hey, Dad, this round," like pointing out, like, "You got to get it done now." And
I saw it.
It's so cute. Oh my God. So I wonder if we're going to get another like highlight from him, but maybe decision. I don't know. Like I said, I like both. I just want to see the fight. I'm going to be sad if Dustin loses. I'm going to be happy if Max wins. It's a weird thing for me. So
that really warms my heart too. I did see that video, and it's not just like, oh, cute of the kid to call it, but the fact that as a father he saw that and I was like, all right, motherfucker, you said it. I'm gonna do this shit for you right now. That's dope. What about you, Ben? I know, it seems you're probably going for a stoppage, right?
I'm going for a stoppage. I think it'll be a great fight while it lasts. Dustin Poirier is one of the UFC's biggest exporters of all those things we talk about, like heart and guts and grit. He's not an easy out, but Dustin's willing to stand and trade, and he's going to come out on the worst end of that. I have this as a knockout loss somewhere between, I'll just say 3rd round, actually. I think it's a 3rd round stoppage for Holloway. Nice. If you scroll down Holloway's record and look at the people that have made it to the final bell against him, they are not people that were willing to stand and trade with him. And Poirier is.
Very good point. Yeah, that makes my stop. I know I'm going bold with the submission there, but that kind of gives me more hope that it will be a stoppage because, well, Poirier's been stopped, and Holloway, I guess he's been submitted, but it's never been that, like, he's got his ass beat. So, yeah, this is going to be super, super interesting. This is actually a good segue. We all picked Max. I just keep wondering if he wins, like we're all saying he will he be a champ? Ben, you alluded that, the interim title doesn't mean much, and I'm kind of on the same boat. Reen, what do you think? Are you with us? And well, what do you think? Is he going to be a champ? Do you hold him in that same regard as McGregor and Nunes and DC?
Well, he said it himself. He's going to be champ. He's not champ.
Damn, respect for that. I hadn't heard that. Respect for that, man. That's cool. That's what I would say.
Yeah, so that's what he said in the interview. So, I mean, yeah, it'll be interesting if he gets that belt and, what they set up next. But
I mean, here's what I will say for him. And I apologize for interrupting.
Oh, no worries.
I mean, he recognizes that just winning the interim title does not make him, God, I hate the term champ. Anyway, assuming that interim belt is a golden ticket for him to get a shot at the actual lineal champ, whether that is Khabib Nurmagomedov or whoever else it is by that point. If Holloway pulls that off and unifies the lightweight belt under himself, not only is he, quote, champ, I would say he's the most legitimate one we've seen yet by far. There's no stars, no asterisks, no stretch. Like, he nearly cleaned out his first division, then moved to the one above it in kind of a planned and logical manner and took on a prepared opponent. I mean, when you look at the other guys who've pulled this off, you've got McGregor, but it's like, well, yeah, but he never defended either of them. Or Daniel Cormier, yeah, but, there's John Jones kind of hanging out in the shadows there. It's really between Max and what Amanda Nunes does in the next year to 2 years for who is like the real legitimate, I owned 2 divisions at the same time.
You know what? No, go ahead.
No, I was basically done. Like, it'll be an incredibly impressive performance if he can do that.
I like that you just brought up Nunes. I mean, I know I did, but I like what you said that it's between them two. Just to go off on a little sideways here. I wasn't the first one to say it, but I will shout it from the rooftops. And just people, Reen's on board with me on this. We do not understand why Nunes is not this gigantic star. We really don't fucking get it. But if she wins, if she beats Holly Holm, she would have beaten every bantamweight and featherweight champion in UFC history, and then obviously the only woman ever to win both belts.
And she would be 2-0 against the greatest flyweight in the history of the UFC.
As of this point, yes, good point. Definitely, yes, good point. If she beats Holly Holm, I mean, I think everyone thinks that she's going to retire, but is there anything else she can do to add to that? I mean, is it just Holly Holm, that's it, retire, and then just rest on your laurels, or you think there's something else she can do beyond that? And I'll extend that question to you too, Reena, after Ben.
I mean, I can definitely give you the reason why Amanda Nunes is not a bigger star. It's that the UFC has dropped the ball. I mean, as much as the UFC has a business model that is built around having a handful of big individual stars at any one moment, whether it's, Brock, Ronda, Conor, Chuck, Tito, Randy, they're not very good at making stars on their own. The biggest stars in UFC history either came to the UFC already a star, people like, there was always a huge buzz about Ronda. There was already a huge buzz around Brock, or they're people that came in kind of unheralded, like Conor McGregor, a hot shit 2-division champ from Cage Warriors, who kind of made his own noise until the UFC had no choice but to notice him. But they're not good at making stars out of nothing. And they don't even know how. The only people they really know how to even try to make into stars are kind of by the numbers, textbook white male jocks or people who are trolls and make their own sound bites. But if you have an incredibly dominant woman who also happens to be the UFC's, first openly gay champ and in a relationship with another UFC fighter, that should be a slam fucking dunk, and they don't know what to do with her. And it doesn't help that Dana White obviously hates Nunes. I mean, with the possible exception of Tyron Woodley, I can't think of Dana White sewering a sitting champ worse than he did Amanda Nunes when she pulled out of that title defense.
But, I mean, after her knocking out Cyborg, I mean, he looked absolutely ecstatic. You could say that, and I believe you, but I want to say that the tide has turned after knocking out Cyborg, because if there's, I think, period, point blank, male or female, I don't think he hated anybody more than Cyborg.
No, I can agree that he probably hated Cyborg more, because Cyborg was that perfect mixture of Dana shitting on important fighters that weren't under contract to him, back when she was winning titles other places, and then, fighters that would occasionally try to stand up to him once they were under contract, where she was complaining about having to do these weird 140-pound catchweight fights. Like, I'm sure part of him is glad that Nunes, knocked out Cyborg. But even if he loves Nunes now, it's a little too late.
Reen, what do you say about this? Like, I'm just to add to that, I don't know if you've been on board with me, Reen. I've always thought her being gay was actually a problem. And don't get me wrong, it's not that I have anything against her, even that the fans do. But I think in her home country of Brazil, she should be a giant star. But it seems like Brazil's a little homophobic. You think that can also be an issue?
I think it's possible. I don't know why they don't use it or sell it. You know what I mean? Like, it's so weird to me. And then now she has this fight against Holly Holm. So is it finalized everything for Dana and company? Like, but she might even retire though afterwards. So it is too late, right? If she beats Holly Holm, she might retire because her mom wanted her to retire after she beat Chris.
So I think it kind of seems by default there really is nothing else that Nunes can do. I mean, beats Holly, calls it a career, and that's that, and she's gonna just stay with that status for who knows how long.
Yeah.
That's going to be a tough one for the UFC either way, because if Holly beats her, I mean, I know Holly just signed a new 6-fight deal, but she's 37 and had been talking for like at least a year or two about wanting to retire herself and start a family.
And now she's divorced, so who the hell knows what that means? Yeah,
so I mean, there's going to be a kind of a weird power vacuum at the top of the bantamweight division going forward. You bring up a valid point. I mean, there probably is an element of homophobia, in the Brazilian scene, but I think it applies more to male fighters. Well, dude, just watch. Jessica Andrade is openly gay, just got married. Watch that place explode when she fights Rose Namajunas in a month.
You think so?
It is going to go nuts for her. That whole card is kind of being set up to just launch that arena into orbit with like the last 3 fights on the card. But yeah, like, I don't think it's as big a deal with a female fighter. I mean, I don't think that's cool or right, but I think it's a dynamic that's in place, and we might as well talk about it.
So do you think it's more of where she's training at and who she's training with? Colby Covington? Do you think that's a possibility that's kind of just tainting her popularity?
I don't have a good handle on how Covington is perceived by Brazilians in Brazil. Brazilians at ATT love the guy. Like Brazilians that actually deal with Covington on a day-to-day basis at ATT like him just fine. You like talk to people like Barboza. They're like, yeah, he's my homie. Like apparently, if whether he's able to separate the persona from the person or not, they're able to do it.
Gotcha. Yeah, because that fight that she had with Chris and the whole traitor thing, I'm like, God, that's reaching. And I hated that.
It was a weird angle for her to take.
Yeah. And I'm like, are they trying to pin her against, her people because of the whole Kobe thing or what? But she shut it down big time with that knockout, so.
Yep. It's like, dude, most Americans don't like Colby.
Right. Like a lot of people. I hear it all the time. There's DMs right now, like, "Oh, fuck Colby. I hope he never comes back." Or
Like,
if he does come back, I hope like Kamaru like mops him.
and I mean, the funny thing is, I don't even understand people who get that worked up about him.
Yeah, I'm totally on board with that. I've been saying that for fucking ever. To me, it's the same thing. Well, I talk a lot of shit of Dylan Dennis, and props to you, Reen. I want to give a shout out to you on the podcast for your tweet of basically saying he's not important to hate. If you weren't on the show, I'd definitely give you tweet of the week, which we're gonna get to in a second here. But yeah, like Dennis, I just talk shit because I'm like he's a total mark. With Cody, I hate people that like mark out for themselves like that, and I know it's kind of an act. But Cody, I think it's clear to me that it's an act, and I don't get why people get so worked up about it.
I mean, I have some perspective here. I actually interviewed Dylan Dennis before his pro MMA debut last spring. It was interesting to talk to the guy on the phone.
I've only seen like 1 or 2 interviews with him, but he seems so lifeless.
No, here's the thing. He is lifeless. And for
Oh wow.
For the record,
Oh
for the record, he was a perfectly nice and pleasant and easy person to talk to and interview, which is almost the worst thing I can say about him. Like the problem is he kind of first got the bug to get into MMA because Conor McGregor brought him in to help him work on his grappling after he lost to Nate Diaz the first time, right? And so he sees how Conor does his thing, conducts himself, and he sees that Conor has, I mean, if he hasn't read the book, The Law of Attraction, he's at least watched the movie, and he sees that he's getting a bunch of attention, pulling in money, having built this persona around himself. And Dennis is clearly trying to do that for himself, and it is just falling completely fucking flat. Because the thing that Conor McGregor has going for him is he has a certain amount of wit and ability to think on his feet and a certain charisma. I mean, I'm thinking all the way back to, you remember when Conor fought Chad Mendez?
Yeah.
Remember that fight?
Yeah.
During the build up to the fight, even though it was kind of short notice for Mendez, a lot of people thought this was going to be where Conor was exposed. He's going to fight a real high level wrestler, and like the whole house of cards are going to come down. And in one of the press conferences, Chad was like, "Can you even spell wrestling?" And Conor looked over at him. He's like, "I can res my balls on your forehead." And it's a terrible one-liner. It's a stupid joke. It makes no sense at all. It's like, just a 5th grade level joke.
Yeah,
but it worked.
Junior high shit.
It's complete junior high shit, but it worked because Conor came up with it quick and he delivered it with conviction. That's what he has that Dylan Dennis does not. Every question I asked Dennis, it felt like there was a delay of like 5 seconds while like his brain like cranked. Okay, in response to this very normal interview question, what's the most kind of like arrogant and out there answer I could possibly give?
Like the dude doesn't even have the wits to write a script.
Right. No, he didn't have any script, and he wasn't able to think on his feet. So he's this guy who's not that witty. He's not that sharp. He's not a naturally funny guy. And he's trying to be Conor McGregor and just falling flat. And now he's got some Reading Rainbow like wraparound shades on.
I saw that. Oh my God. I'm like, what is that?
Dude, I know Bret Hart's not dead and he got tackled last week, but my God, that he must be rolling in his grave if he was actually dead, because goddamn, dude. Yeah, at least go with the thick ones. He just went with like this Star Trek fucking like looking glasses.
Well, somebody tweeted like, yeah, it sucked for me too when I got my eyes dilated. When I got my eyes checked, I'm like,
it looked like a senior citizen who went to the optometrist.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my God, he's trying so hard. And those photos with that girl, I guess she's a model. I didn't know that. But yeah, he had pictures with some girl like straddling him, and
he's following after Covington. I tweeted when that happened. I'm like, it's like the rap game now where they're passing around video vixens and hoes. It was like, you have her, so they can get like their clout. Like that's what's happening in MMA now.
And well, that's what they want us to believe is happening. but that's embarrassing. Like guys that actually get girls don't do that. Like the actual NBA guys that, date Instagram models, they give them strict rules. You never post a picture of me on your Instagram. If you want to be courtside for a road game, you let me know X number of weeks in advance. Like they don't just post some random chick like straddling them in a motel room bed on their own Instagram.
Yeah, it's total Mark shit, man.
Yes, Mark as fuck.
It's like a cardinal sin to me. I talk about that shit all the time, and that's the only reason I don't despise Danish or Covington, but to me it's like you guys are just such clowns because you guys are just the ultimate marks. That the funny thing is that people hate him because they take him so seriously.
Yep.
How about you, Reen? You're the one that kind of started this with the tweet.
Oh, yeah. I don't even know how many likes I got so far, but it was pretty popular. I didn't expect it to blow up that way, but I just saw it and I'm like, nah, you're not important enough to hate. Sit down.
Yeah, with all that talking of tweets, I guess we'll just segue into tweet of the week because there's no real way to do this. So my tweet of the week this week goes to Cody Garbrandt. I'm sure a lot of you guys seen this after TJ Dillashaw popped. He said, let's make this clear. I'm not saying my losses are a direct result of PED convicted fighters. I also fought like a dumbass. I've been a hater of Cody for a while, but I got to admit that tweet kind of warmed me up to him. Like to be that honest, that's the one thing I'd always say. I'm like, he fights like a dumbass, and I think he thinks that he's fighting smart. But for him to say it out loud, like, damn, dude, I give you respect.
I'm with you, man. Like, I actually found myself thinking that this week that I'm kind of coming around on Cody Garbrandt. I mean, it's so weird because the men's bantamweight division is so full of just odious, unlikable assholes at the top that, Garbrandt was able to make TJ Dillashaw and Dominic Cruz like both kind of like look like the face by comparison.
Yeah.
That's insane. But when you get to it, I mean, like he's a super emotional dude, like obviously wears his heart on his sleeve. And the limits in his game are showing. But yeah, like I totally felt for him this week.
Yeah, and it just I'm sorry, go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that it's I just find it so fitting that he's a part of Team Alpha Male. Not to shit on the team, but just the name because he's that like alpha male bro douchebag, like he's always gotta be on top no matter what. And TJ's similar. I actually watched that fight live, the rematch here in LA in Staples Center, and everyone around me was so psyched, and the people that love TJ fucking loved him and hated Cody, and the people that love Cody fucking hated TJ, and people were telling me like, who are you going for? I'm like, dude, I don't care, they're both douchebags, I just want to see someone get knocked out. And luckily enough, I got my wish, but he just the fact that he's from that gym is just so ironic to me. It's like, that's definitely what you are, but in the pejorative sense.
And don't forget that they are no longer Team Alpha Male. As of March 25th, according to head coach Uriah Faber, they are now Team Alpha MMA.
Reen, were you aware of this? This is your...
No, I haven't been at the gym either, so I've avoided my gym too.
This kind of pisses me off. Why didn't they change that shit when Paige was still there?
Oh, yeah, huh?
Yeah, that always bothered me. And I'm not this guy like, oh, alpha male chicks aren't allowed. But like, dude, she's not the only female too. I mean, Calvillo's still there, but it's like, you had Calvillo, you had Paige Van Zandt. Back in the day, you had a Veronica Roslinhauser. I love that chick, but she retired early. But it's like, it's not like you don't have female fighters. You should try and be a little bit inclusive.
Yeah, it's a little late, but I'll take it.
Better late than never. What's your take, Reen? It says you being the female on the show.
With Cody, yeah, I'm coming around on Cody. I hated him too. Sorry. I hate talking about Uriah's team because how close I am. And then I go to the UFC gym. Uriah favors UFC gym. So yeah, I try not to talk too openly about them. But yeah, like, he bothered me so much. And we've talked about this before. It's just so toxic at the top. Him, TJ, Dominic Cruz. It was such a triangle with them. And then now TJ's out of the mix. So I'm kind of digging it.
And it's funny. It's only 3 fighters, but it seemed like they're going to keep fighting. There's going to be a rematch with this guy. Then he might lose. Then there's going to be the other guy. And they're going to have 3 fights. And then that guy's going to lose. And it's going to be another 3 fights with this guy. It's like, it seemed like it was never going to end. And this is why fucking Marlon Moraes 2019, man. I'm gonna keep shouting it from the rooftops. I love that kid. I'm glad that he's such a cool, nice guy, and to me, he's pretty personable. But if that dude becomes champion, I'll be ecstatic.
Yeah, and the tweets he sent out, like I feel for him, man. Like I don't know if they're gonna go back and retest the other samples, the fights that he's had with TJ, but I mean, hopefully for him they'll do it so he understands what happened. And then of course, yeah, like he said, like he fought like a dumbass, so take that into account too. But like just knowing that, yeah, what I said even like a year ago is true. I said it, yeah. I said it because it's true. Like he got popped for it. EPO.
And yeah, to segue into that, that's what we're going to talk about next is TJ popping. It's been a month since they announced that he had tested positive, and now it's come to light that it was EPO that he tested positive for, actually twice. You're on a good roll there, Reen. So I'm just introducing the topic, but no, I'll let you continue with this. I'm interested in your take.
I was actually in shock like everybody else because we thought it was maybe something, tainted supplement. We saw all those bottles of, vitamins or whatever they were when he was cutting weight to, fight Cejudo. And we're like, it could be one of those bottles because, hello, he had hundreds of them. But come to find out, it's EPO. And the only way to take that is what? By injection. So, I mean, what the fuck? I thought this was all about math and science, and he had this, mathematician helping him with this weight cut. No, it's all about cheating. So yeah, it bothered me finding out.
It's funny that within the last month we've had like our two, honestly, and there's clearly still problems with USADA. Cody was going on about this too, and brought in Ali Abdelaziz. Well, I think that's his manager, but whatever. Regardless. Forget all that. In the past 2 months, it seems like it's been the first two concrete examples of cheating. Everything else has been taking supplements, or they didn't know certain things were banned, or I mean, early when they first started, it was like things like Machida and Crow Cop. They tested positive, and it basically shouldn't have even been a positive test. So I mean, there was all kinds of fuckery going on. But we have TJ, and then there was also the Russian cat. Oh man, his name escapes me. What was
the one who
name?
just got banned for life?
That dude. What the fuck?
Ruslan Magomedov.
Ruslan, thank you, Ben. That I knew it started with an R and some kind of Adolf at the end. Yeah, like these two are the most clear cheaters in the USADA era. Like I don't know. What do you guys think? I'll start with Ben on this one. Like, is this like a saving grace for USADA, or is it just the right timing, or just a coincidence? Like, is this any good news, I guess, in a way?
Well, I'm going to be a little out of the ordinary here because I think a lot of the currently banned substances should be allowed out of competition. Like, I don't get as worked up about a lot of the PEDs as a lot of other people in the fan or media space do. It just doesn't matter to me. Like, I wouldn't care if TJ Dillashaw got into the cage with a hypodermic needle hanging out of his ass, except for the problem of the actual hypodermic needle. Like, hopefully, the cut man or the regulator would remove that before he climbed into the cage. But what I do care about is fighters being accountable to a set of rules that's clearly understood and uniformly enforced. By that standard, I mean, obviously, this is a huge fall from grace for TJ. In fact, I mean, if you kind of combine the fact that he had a really embarrassing, demoralizing loss in his last fight, and then this PED violation that looks terrible, there aren't a whole lot of fighters that have fallen as far in as short a time as TJ Dillashaw has. Having said that, none of this is any credit to USADA. Like, seriously, fuck those guys. It was especially galling to me to see Jeff Nowitzki, the UFC's VP of compliance or whatever they call him these days, calling out the tweets from TJ and his coach and just basically calling them liars. Because where was that guy, in December when John Jones was having a whole card moved from Vegas to LA? All of a sudden, Nowitzki's going to start doing what the UFC supposedly, theoretically brought him on board to do. No, fuck that. So none of this is any credit to USADA. But, I mean, I guess if you entertain the illusion of a quote clean sport where nobody uses any banned substances, then yeah, I mean, Ruslan Magomedov's unprecedented lifetime ban and TJ Dillashaw getting this suspension as one of the highest profile and most popular fighters in the sport are definitely a step in the right direction.
Ruslan gave no kind of fucks, man. It was like test positive, test positive. They didn't even make it public, and it's like, I'm just gonna keep testing positive.
He flatly refused to take a test. And I mean, like I just said, I'm in favor of a lot of currently banned PEDs being legal. I'm not in favor of people refusing to take drug tests. That's about as dirty as it gets.
They're pulling out the old Wandy, just run out the fucking the building, man.
or pull the John Jones and hide under the cage at Jackson Wink for 8 hours until they leave.
Hey, those are rumors. That's never been officially said.
Oh, sorry. Didn't know I wasn't supposed to say that.
Man, I still wish that was true. And just to add what you said about TJ, his loss and him crying and shit. Shit, I'd cry too if I wasted so much money on EPO and I got knocked out in 30 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, have either of you, I mean, you probably have you read the tweet that went out either this morning or yesterday from the training lab nutritionist guy, Sam Calavita?
Oh my God, I read the whole thing.
You guys are going to have to fill me in on this because I could not bother.
After this show, you need to go find it. It will take you 2 minutes to read. You will lose 30 points of IQ, and you will never be the same. It is one of the worst things I have ever seen in 15 plus years of being a fan of MMA, in several years of like writing about it and paying close attention to the news. It's unbelievably stupid. It's one of the worst things I've ever seen. Like, what an asshole.
He's a math and science guy. How could he not say something intellectual and bright?
What a fucking asshole.
Yeah, you just gotta read it. But okay, so what's the point of WASADA then if they don't test for everything?
Well, I mean, it's a question of cost, like it, and I'm not saying that's justifiable. The UFC brings in a huge amount of money. Presumably they could come up with the additional money to test for EPO every single time. The only thing I can guess is that because EPO is so brazen, like there's no saying that it was a tainted supplement when you stuck a needle in your leg. They thought maybe they could get away with not policing that one as closely and stick to more of the anabolic agents and the, testosterone analogs that do crop up in tainted supplements. But yeah, they look stupid as hell right now.
Do you think moving forward they will test it? Because they do have the money now with this new deal with ESPN. They're on the ESPN platform. They were marketing, TJ as this face when this whole ESPN app situation, the streaming service started. This whole build up with this fight, he's going to go down and destroy the flyweight. Like, he was basically the face of ESPN streaming.
No, and just to add to that, Reen, we were saying about the deal and everything, remember that after the John Jones fuckery in December, that Nowitzki came on Joe Rogan's podcast and he basically announced, effective immediately, we just renewed our deal, and they're going to, up their test by, 40 or 70%? So yep. I wonder if this was this was kind of the reason behind it, is that they're being tested more.
Yeah, I wonder, because, I mean, it kind of looks bad now, right? Maybe they don't care because they're still making money, but I mean, you're on ESPN's platform now. So would they actually go ahead and test for everything and make sure that it's a clean sport? Because that's the reason why they adopted it with WASADA, right? Because they had to sell it to somebody. They had to sell it to the highest bidder. So sure, yeah, it's a clean sport. Well, look at it. Like, you guys are not testing everything. So it's not really a clean sport. And then you have Ali saying, yeah, everybody's using. I know 5 people that are taking EPO. Like, he tweeted that out. So it's like, you're manager.
Ali knows 50 people that are taking EPO. No, I'm serious. I'm serious.
I bet. Yeah. But it's not good that he's out there tweeting that too. And what's the direction here now?
Well, it's like I told him too. I quoted that tweet and I'm like, well, snitch him out. It's nothing new to you, allegedly. Yeah, it's just, I mean, it's a shit show. I was just asking because it's like I think I'm on the same boat with a lot of fans. Like there's no way to come back from this. And I don't mean TJ. I mean USADA. Like there's always gonna be fuckery with them. And it's funny because my opinion is of drug testing has changed a lot over the years. When I first started watching the sport, I was very anti PED, anti drug, and well, anti banned substance, not drugs, not all drugs, but I just like this is very dangerous. You shouldn't be injecting stuff and doing things to make you stronger and all that type of stuff. And when USADA, when they announced that USADA was going to come in, I was like, good, finally something. And immediately after I said that, I was like, oh wait, because they got brought in the fold. They announced that a little bit shortly after that whole fuckery with Mayweather and Pacquiao went down with the retroactive TUE, uh what was it with the goddamn, why are so many things escaping, the IV, the IV TUE. And it seemed like it was a story for like a day or two and everyone forgot about it. And after I saw that, it just stuck with me, like, well, what's to stop the UFC or them from not saying certain things with certain fighters? And I always knew that this was going to be a part of it. I wasn't surprised when it happened. I guess I'm more surprised that it took as long as it did with John Jones and all this. But it seems like from what Ben was saying, so Ben, are you, it seems like you said you don't care at all, but I guess are you more in favor of how we used to do it, of just state testing, just don't piss hot the day of the fight kind of thing?
Well, yeah, I mean, and this would be a 2-hour podcast all its own that I would want to, like, you know, do some additional research for. But speaking broadly, I think most things should be allowed out of competition. You know, like, for the most part, steroids used out of competition are used to speed healing. I mean, what we really got in the USADA era is more dudes blowing weight, well, more people blowing weight, more people pulling out of fights with injuries. It's not when people hear the word steroid, they're picturing just this like roided up monster. You know, they're picturing these people like that look like, you know, Paulo Costa, like Bohachina, looked like in the first two. Well, you could just insert name of like debuting Brazilian middleweight or light heavyweight here.
Hey, I go with Russian here. I'm not that racist.
Well, no, like if you want to go with like Jan Kutalaba, like painted to look like the Hulk, I'm with you there too. But I mean, that's really kind of a small fraction of what we get from PED usage. Most of what we get just kind of bubbles under the surface, and it takes the form of people being able to train through training camp injuries and still prepare and still make weight. I think the sport is poorer for a lot of the bands we've done.
I just want to give a shout out to my boy, Stephen J. Rivers. He's basically said everything that you just said. He's told me ad nauseum for like 2 or 3 years. So you're definitely not alone in this. I know actual fans of the podcast like him are going to be totally on board with you. Any last words, Reen? Anything you want to add?
No, just, I don't know. This whole USADA thing, it's either use it or don't. If people get popped, don't tell us. I don't care anymore. Like, if you're not going to test for everything, I don't give a shit. Just let them fight.
Like in many things regarding MMA, we're the abused woman in the relationship. Like, just do whatever you want. Go fuck around. Just please don't tell us. We can't take it anymore.
Yeah, because, like, I don't get it. Like, you punish this one person for this much, however many months, the fines or whatever, but this person is still fighting, John Jones.
Yep.
You know? I mean, his samples came back tainted again, with picograms and this and that. I still don't understand it, but he's still fighting. But, you know, Josh Barnett couldn't fight. Well, Josh Barnett, he's been popped so many times. I mean, I don't even know why I brought up his name, but
you brought up his name because he just signed with Bellator.
That too. He signed the paperwork on Ariel's show. I don't know if you guys saw that or not.
Yeah, I heard about it.
But somebody else said something about this too. It's like, okay, you can't be disgusted with ONE FC. You can't be disgusted with Bellator or you can be, because they don't do any testing. They don't do testing, period. Well, they do like the regular, but they don't do like USADA testing. Mm-hmm. And then ONE FC, who knows what they're doing?
They remember that there was that announcement that they were saying that they're going to sign with a big drug testing company, and then I don't know what came. I think they just last minute backed out, like fuck this shit. We don't want to get in that fuckery too.
Yeah, and I think Eddie Alvarez or like Gary Tonin said, yeah, I trust ONE FC. Yeah, we don't test for certain things. We don't, monitor certain things, but I trust them.
Reen, be honest. Should you trust the Asian man?
Hell no. Hell no. Make sure you have a translator. Read it twice, 3 times. Have other translators. Just like going to the doctors, you have to have a second opinion.
And we're not talking about all Asian people, just Asian fight promoters, because they're an extra kind of shady. But that's neither here nor there. So let's get into a few other topics. So bare knuckle fighting happened over the weekend. Apparently it was fight of the year shit between Artem Lobov and Jason Knight. I didn't see it. I didn't see it, so I can't say. But this question came up of, is it too brutal? I guess I would just say I didn't, as I said earlier, I grew up watching boxing and stuff, but I wasn't immune from watching actual street fights, whether they were at school, at street, or honestly, right outside my house with shady figures and sometimes in my own family. But regardless, I've basically seen enough fights of people fighting bare knuckle. And I think it's all brutal, whether it's boxing gloves, MMA gloves, or bare knuckle. And I don't see the argument of, yeah, it looks bad, but I think I guess people can dispute this, but I think it's obvious that it's less damaging to the actual head. What do you think about that, Ben?
I don't think bare knuckle boxing is too brutal. I just think it's kind of stupid. I mean,
you don't get the appeal?
No, I get the appeal. I mean, obviously, it's awesome to see two dudes in nothing but hand wraps beat the shit out of each other, especially if neither of them is a good defensive boxer. But the fight that dominated the headlines this past weekend, partly because there was no major MMA going on, was Artem Lobov versus Jason Knight. 6 months ago, Artem Lobov versus Jason Knight would have been a UFC undercard fight, and would we have been talking about it on the episode of the podcast that week? Would it have been one of the ones that you would have brought up?
Not at all.
Not at all. It would have been just another undercard fight. 6 months later, they're both out of the UFC. So it is two guys who, by definition, are not UFC quality fighters putting on some hand wraps and boxing it out. They beat each other bloody. Neither of them was a good defensive boxer with gloves on. Of course they beat each other bloody. I thought it was interesting. It was fun. The after photos were quite amazing and quite gut-wrenching. But the problem is this recent crossover of MMA with bare-knuckle boxing is kind of damaging both. I mean, it's helping individual fighters because as individual fighters kind of fall out at the bottom of the UFC, they're able to pick up another paycheck or two. But it's definitely not helping bare-knuckle boxing. I mean, I watched a couple of their events before this whole mass exodus happened, before Beck Rawlings and Chris Lytle and Tony Lopez signed up and did it. And the whole appeal, the whole thing the bare knuckle promoters were saying was, this is a purer form of boxing. It forces a different strategy on you. There's more body work because it's dangerous to punch to the head, with bare knuckles. They were playing it up as this more strategic thing that was kind of a martial art unto itself. We're losing that because now their cards are just stacked with mediocre MMA fighters who in most cases were not good strikers even in MMA. So all of a sudden it's just a bunch of dudes beating the shit out of each other and making each other's faces bloody. If I want to see that, I'll just watch. I'll go to WorldStar or Break.com. There's never any gloves. Every fight ends in a knockout. There's blood everywhere. People lying on the ground like a newborn fucking baby. Blood everywhere.
You know who I would like to see in bare knuckle fighting is this video that came out of some altercation. We were talking about this earlier on, this altercation at this casino where a guy got sweet chin music in the chest and then got fucking Hendo punched on the ground. I want to see that dude fight. Reen, to add on to what you said, I see your point. I think there's just it's not just an MMA thing. I mean, obviously Malignaggi is going to join soon. Well, has joined and looks like he's going to fight Lobov or whatever. But I expect more boxers to sign on, especially retired boxers or guys who have lost it. And then I remember one of our peeps, Reen, Miriam Nakamoto, mentioned it on the Joe Rogan podcast about how she was wanted to join because it actually pays decent money, I guess, compared to Muay Thai or kickboxing. And then I know Christine Faria, another girl that we like, has been singing their praises that they pay well, and I guess for her. But what was your take on it?
I didn't think it was brutal. The pictures didn't bother me. I've seen people on my timeline where it did bother them. They're saying that bare knuckle's not for them. That it's just too much. But it didn't bother me at all. But this is what media kept on talking about throughout the week. Like, is it too brutal? Is it too much? Should this be happening? I don't have a problem with it. If that's their way of making money, cool. That's great that they have that option. They have that. So I don't have no problems with it. If Miriam goes, cool. I mean, I would love to see it because, I mean, I'm a fan of hers. But, yeah, it doesn't bother me, man.
And you don't think it's, like, diluting anything? You think it's just whoever wants to go. It's not going to affect MMA or boxing or kickboxing too much. Like, this is what I see of a guy who just, like, Ross Pearson, he just retired, and he was always saying, I wish I could box or kickbox in between MMA fights. Like, this is kind of what it seems like to me. I mean, UFC and promotions still have exclusive contracts, but I think those guys that are kind of done with it, like, I want to break from it. I'm gonna go into bare knuckle boxing, and it's just a thing for them to have, like, another outlet, I guess.
Yeah, it's great that there's another option. Now, Brendan Schaub was kind of pissed off, though, that it's not free. Why isn't it free? You're trying to sell me on this shit. Why do I have to pay $30 for this? I kind of saw his point on it, like, yeah, actually, that is a lot of money. I mean, especially, like, if you don't know these people, if you never followed MMA. You only know Artem because he's homies with, Conor McGregor. And now there's this other fight that's going to happen with Artem, and another person that was kind of in the mix with, Conor. So people would be interested in that. But yeah, I mean, I guess they have the money to pay these guys, especially Paulie Malignaggi. Like, I think he's getting paid more than his last boxing match.
Yeah, I mean, he was kind of sucking at the end of his career, so that's not that surprising. But Jesus Christ, why am I losing?
And then I don't know if you guys saw it or not, but the president came out in the middle of the fight and
that was embarrassing.
He's taking away this guy's money, his purse, because he didn't engage enough. I didn't watch it, but
is that what I saw tweets about that? But I thought they were just talking. It was just people talking randomly of like, should this happen? I didn't know it was something that actually happened in a fight.
It was the literal equivalent of Dana White walking into the middle of the cage after a bad fight and saying he was taking half of one guy's purse away and giving it to the other, even though there was nothing like that in the contract. It was the most Bush League amateur shit I've seen in a minute.
Damn, that's rough, man. That's rough. Especially if you just came up with that on the spot. Like, that would suck if it's in the contract, but it's like, well, you know what you signed, but like, yeah, fuck you. This fight sucks, so I'm just giving it to the other dude. Damn, that's rough. You expect that when you, like, blow weight, like, well, you didn't make weight, you're going to have to give this guy money, right? It's like,
that's in the contract.
Yeah. Jesus. That's bad. That's real. That's real.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? If a fight starts and one fighter realizes he's badly overmatched and not getting paid enough to take a concussion and it ends up being a shit fight, you need to be talking to your matchmaker about his check, not that fighter.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I think that's a good place to end that discussion. Gonna go on to something that's a bit more serious and depressing. I'm gonna start with you here, Reen, because, well, I know you're a gigantic BJ Penn fan, but this week it came out, accusations from his, it looks like, I don't know if they were married, but his ex-partner, I guess she alleged that he had been abusing her for 10 years, physically, verbally, and sexually. I didn't see the details about the kids. I know he said the kids weren't too pleased with him, but I don't know if he ever did any damage to the kids. But were you shocked by this?
Yeah, I was shocked by it. I finally did read the article, but I read the article from Hawaii's News Now, and I guess she originally filed for the restraining order in October. So the February judgment was just an extension of the October filing. So I don't recall it being this story being out back in October, but yeah, this is just a continuation of the problems that she's been having, and I guess the reason why he's taking all these fights now is because the camps keep him sane. If he's not, training for a fight or whatnot, then he just goes crazy, and this is what she has to put up with.
And by going crazy means to hit his wife.
Literally, doing disturbing things. So, yeah.
Ben, you're basically like the first like legit MMA guy we've had on as far as your position and whatnot. I forget who the dude was, but he'd written for a big site and he said that there's been rumors of this for years. Have you ever heard anything about this?
All right. So for the first time in this show where I have talked mad amounts of shit, I will become a bit measured here. I was not surprised. I was disappointed, sad, but no, there had been noises about this from people who would know and would have no reason to lie about it for years.
I don't know. This doesn't change anything. This doesn't do anything. I was never the biggest BJ Penn fan, and people kind of got at me like, "What? How could you not like BJ?" And I don't know. I think it was around the time I got into sport. It was when he had his rematch with GSP, and I saw him basically quit on the stool. So I always had this perception of him like, really, this is the guy. This is your favorite fighter ever, a guy that quits on the stool against this dude. So maybe that image always soured me on him, but he did have exciting fights. I didn't have the biggest problem with him. I was just like, he's just not for me. But it's just so people say he's just a natural fighter. It's just in his blood, and he had a lot of street fights growing up in Hawaii, and he has an interesting upbringing. I guess I just didn't see this coming because he didn't seem like that, and it sucks that it's good that it came out, but it's amazing that it was 10 years of this shit that had been going on and not a peep came out in any discernible form.
And if it's been going on this long, then nobody stopped it. I guess he's been abusing coke since he was a kid.
Oh, Jesus.
Well, so is that the reason why he got his black belt in 3 years? Because he was doing coke?
I was not there to confirm or deny that. No, again, I don't know BJ personally, but he's, obviously just an incredibly manic and energetic and mercurial person. And it's interesting that you said what you did, because your opinion of BJ really, I think, kind of depends on where he was at when you saw him first. Because
I got into sport 2009-ish, so yeah.
Yeah, the first time I ever saw him fight, he was moving up to welterweight to challenge Matt Hughes for his title after failing to win the lightweight title. You know what I mean? He this fat, pudgy, underachieving but talented lightweight. If you caught him at the right moment, it felt like there was nothing he could not do. He literally did feel like some kind of superhero. And I think that's why even 15, 18 years later, you have these diehard fans that have a hard time accepting or believing that he loses fights or quits in fights, let alone has all these terrible problems in his personal life.
I guess it'd be like I guess Conor in a way, if you saw Conor when he beat Chad Mendes, when he beat Jose Aldo, like, damn, this dude's a god amongst men, But if you've seen Conor in the past 2 years, he got knocked out by Mayweather, he quit against Khabib, what's the big deal about this dude, everyone knows who he is, but if UFC 229 is the first time you've seen Conor, I'm sure you're not going to see what made him special.
Right.
It just sucks that it's happening again here. Here's another story about a fighter being involved with abuse and drugs and this and that. Like, we keep hearing about it.
How crazy is it that, sorry, just to say, how crazy is it that Tony Ferguson is the one that is like the only one that's happened recently? They're like, oh, okay, there's a caveat here, and we hope everything is good all around. But everyone else, Matt Hughes, Josh Copeland, all these stories that have been coming out lately, and Greg Hardy keeps fucking popping up. It's like, dude, Rachel Ostovich, like, can we just get a break, man?
And I think to an extent, this is something that has always been going on. So even though it's painful, it is a good thing that it's being brought to light and it's being reported and the victims are being believed.
Yes.
Yeah. I think we're in a place of kind of growing pains right now as far as that goes.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you definitely have brought up a good point, Reen. I know you'll agree. I mean, I'll let you speak to that. I definitely want your take on that.
Yeah, I'm glad it's being brought up, but it just bothers me to see on timelines, like on Twitter, like, yeah, I don't believe it because of this, or yeah, she could be making it up, it's because of money. Like, let it play out. You know what I mean?
BJ Penn was born wealthy. I mean, she could have get money from him at any time,
Yeah, this whole Connor thing too. It's like, oh yeah, the chick is trying to get money, this and that. Like, no, this shit is really happening. People are getting hurt. Kids are seeing this, and that's what breaks my heart. Is just, I wonder how the kids are going to be.
Yeah, we've gone. I don't know how many shows it's been on that we've had to talk about this. And it's not even a big deal. We did kind of talk about Connor here and there, but I didn't even want to bring up his shit about slugging some dude in a bar and just his other shit. It's like, dude, I'm sick of it, but also it's like, this BJ thing is pretty important, and he's a gigantic star, but like, I'm just tired of so much goddamn negativity. Let's just go into some other news about some recent matchups. So there's 3 matchups that came up recently. I just want your guys' take on this. I'll start with you, Reen. So, been announced that our girl KGB is fighting Montana De La Rosa at UFC Greenville on ESPN Plus. Carolina Kowalkiewicz is fighting Alexa Grasso at UFC 238, and Luke Rockhold is fighting Jan Blachowicz at UFC 239. What are your thoughts on the matchup and on those? Which one sticks out to you? Which ones do you like? And who do you think might win if you want to indulge?
Wow, so KK's fighting Alexa Grasso.
Yeah, the frail Mexican, the other one.
Wow.
One of many. Yeah. This kind of breaks my heart, honestly, because Kowalkiewicz I've followed very early on, and Grasso I followed basically since the beginning. And I remember seeing him in Invicta, like, man, I hope those girls fight each other one day. I didn't think it'd be them coming off of losses and not looking so good in the UFC and possibly fighting for their jobs. So
yeah, that's what stands out to me, like, because I think Grasso is on a 1-fight losing streak. KK's on a 2-fight losing streak. I think she's still in the top 10. So, interesting fight. I didn't know Luke Rockhold was coming back. God, how long has he been out?
It's been a minute. Correct me if I'm wrong. Romero, right? The Romero loss has been his last fight.
Oh, that's right.
He was supposed to fight Weidman in New York at 2:30, and then he pulled out last minute, and he hasn't fought since.
Right. He got deaded by Romero.
Yeah.
God damn. Okay. I gotta check back and see how far that was. And then the KGB fight, that's cool. She has another fight again. I like it.
Yeah, she's also another one that likes to keep busy. It seems like some people are kind of picking Montana early. They seem to believe in her. But I'm it's obvious I'm going with KGB all the way, no matter who it's against. But what do you think of Montana's chances?
I think it's gonna be a tough one.
You think KGB takes it?
Yeah, I think so, man. I like KGB.
Yeah,
she's a tough one, and she keeps getting better.
Yeah, I think so too. Slowly but surely, Ben, what do you think about these matchups?
I like the Andreelli Montana De La Rosa matchup. I'm going to go against you too. I'm leaning De La Rosa. Just, I haven't seen enough of either of them. And I mean, I've seen their fights, but I haven't seen enough of either of them to have a perfect grasp on it. So in the absence of knowing better, I'm going to lean against the woman I think is the bigger one and the better wrestler versus the better striker. So I've got De La Rosa in that one, but I'm excited to see it. And I also have a little more faith in De La Rosa's coaching and team currently. Karolina Kowalkiewicz versus Alexa Grasso. I've got Kowalkiewicz in this one, but I'm not totally confident in it. I think I wrote off Alexa Grasso a little too soon. I was irritated when the UFC pulled her up before she even had a chance to challenge Angela Hill for the Invicta title. I thought it was too soon. I thought she was too young. I just thought they're grabbing this girl because she's young, undefeated at the time, good-looking, Mexican. These are all things the UFC wants. But I thought they grabbed her too soon, and she lost right out of the gate. And I think I wrote her off. But she's better than I thought she was, but I still think she loses to Karolina. Luke Rockhold makes his long-awaited debut at light heavyweight against Jan Blachowicz. Perfect matchup. I love it. Rockhold should be favored. Nonetheless, it's a dangerous matchup for him, and it will let us know right out the gate whether he's just another dude at 205 or he's an immediate title picture guy, because 205 is starving for credible title contenders. I mean, Anthony Smith is a great story, but there's a reason he got fast-tracked to a title shot. They needed somebody. If John Jones is serious about keeping his nose clean, literally, and wants to fight 3 times a year like he says he does, they need bodies. And for that reason, I like the Thiago Santos matchup. For that reason, I like him to slot Rockhold right in if he beats Jan Blachowicz in convincing fashion, which I think he will.
I kind of, it's just kind of gut reaction, knee-jerk reaction stuff right here. But right now that you were just saying this, I kind of just have a feeling that Blachowicz will beat Rockhold. I don't know why or how. I just if he beat him, I really wouldn't be that surprised. And it's even more surprising because I've been this guy saying, middleweights, all of you, just go up and weight. You will win. It doesn't matter who they put you up against. But for some reason, I guess I just believe in Blachowicz a little bit too hard. I think he could actually take out a former champion like Rockhold. But I know my pick might, Dwayne might wind down by the time that fight comes around. But I'm definitely interested. So that's going to wrap it up for the MMA stuff. As always, we're going to finish with a wacky news story. So here it is. This is in New Zealand, which I'm very grateful for, and something I'll explain that in a bit. But the headline is, man who abused Virgin Airlines staff deemed too fat for jail. And this dude is a ghost hunter. Apparently he made phone calls to Virgin Airline workers and was harassing and threatening them. And it looks like, from what they said in the court, that he was sentenced to 12 months prison, but then ordered to be released on a $2,000 good behavior recognizance for 5 years. So they said if he harassed people over the phone again, he would be sent behind bars regardless of his weight. Reen, go ahead.
What a piece of shit. I don't understand why he was harassing people in the first place.
The dude is obviously deranged. I mean, he's deranged. There's no explaining crazy,
And he's too fat to stay in jail.
Yeah.
It's seriously, dude? Come on. Then make him lose weight and then put him back in jail.
How great. They didn't go into detail about why he was harassing and abusing these people, but how great would it be if he was on the phone talking shit because he was mad that he had to purchase 3 fucking seats?
It's possible because there's a picture of him and his wheelchair is so wide. It's so big.
You could easily fit 2 straw weights in there.
Seriously, I don't get it. And how could you be a ghost hunter if you're that big?
These are some slow-moving ghosts.
I
don't get it. There's so many questions that I have.
And as I mentioned earlier, I'm just so grateful that it's in New Zealand and not America. I mean, just the stereotype of the fat asshole American. It's it's not just here, man. Happens on the other side of the world. New Zealand has always seemed like the people are just very chill and humble, but this dude just fucking stuck a fork in that, man, literally.
Where's he going to go hunt? I mean, was he going somewhere else to go hunt for ghosts and he needed to get an airline ticket and he started going off on these kids, these girls or whatever? I don't get it. There's no ghosts in New Zealand. Why are you harassing people?
He ate them all.
He definitely looks like it.
The people or the ghost?
God.
Because, dude, he looks like the Michelin Tire Man, or to be more appropriate, like the big marshmallow dude in Ghostbusters. I've never seen the movie, but I've seen those images.
Like, I mean, I feel bad body shaming this guy, but I'll go ahead because he's an asshole. He looks like he's wearing one of those like inflatable sumo suits that you like get for a party.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's not fully. Yeah, that's pretty accurate.
Yes. I mean, I think his punishment should be to lose weight. It's going to help him in the long run.
His punishment should be a fucking salad, that's for sure.
Like, eat a salad every day, drink protein shakes.
Good grief.
Keep the phones away from him, but yeah, make sure that he's on a diet of somehow. Like, come on, man.
I don't know what prisons are like in New Zealand. I know American prisons are notoriously bad. But I've had friends, because I hang out with degenerates, I've had friends who've gone to jail and they told me they've lost, even if it's only been for 2 or 3 weeks, that they've lost 20 pounds because they won't eat because the food is so fucking gross. And then obviously we see the dudes who come out jacked after a year or two of, bench pressing and shit. But I hope, I don't like that our prisons here are so fucked up, but if it's even remotely like that, I hope this dude doesn't eat and starves and is forced to hit the weights or something, because if they have it all nice and they're serving them like the actual decent food, I think he's just gonna remain the way he is. Oh man.
Virgin Airlines, don't they have money? They have money, right? He's flying Virgin Airlines.
I believe so. I mean, it's not Southwest.
Virgin is not a discount airline.
No, so what the hell, man? Come on. Okay, then I wonder if that's his mom, or who's that pushing that big ass wheelchair?
Yes, and the picture, the image in the article, there's a woman pushing him. She looks a bit older than him. It could be a caretaker, or very much so it could be his mother, his wife. Who the hell knows? But
if it's a caretaker, I hope she's getting paid, because she probably has to help him wipe his ass and everything else.
Oh my God, I hadn't even thought about that. Jesus Christ, what an image.
Well, look how big he is. Like, goddamn. Like, okay, I shouldn't be going on and like talking shit about this dude being so big, but come on.
As a fat man, I can say, keep going, girl.
I mean, God damn it. You're just so unhappy because you're probably big and you need to harass people.
Yep, pretty much. I mean,
right? Like that's there's my answers. I answered all my questions, I guess.
Well, the dude doesn't seem too intent on doing anything, whether it comes to the courts, answering questions, fucking even walking, for God's sake. So what can we expect out of this? But very weird story. Troubling, angering, and pretty fucking funny all at the same time. As always, we'll provide a link on Twitter with when the podcast goes up. But that's gonna be it for us tonight. We're gonna call it a night. So I want to thank Benjamin Duffy for coming on. Really appreciate it, man. Let us know where they can find you. Plug your stuff, whatever you want to do. The floor is yours.
Well, you can find me at SureDog.com, obviously. All you really need to do there is drag down the features menu, and I'm right there. You can find all the stuff I've written. If you see a picture or an infographic there, I probably made it. Or you can follow me on Twitter at Benjamin Duffy. It's been a pleasure being on.
Yes, and make sure you do follow Ben, because I still am amazed that you do not have more followers, man. You're a bright dude, and you're really funny on Twitter. I definitely recommend you guys follow him. Reen, I always sign off and just mention your stuff, but I don't know. I'm now realizing that it may be kind of a dick move on my part. So if you want to,
it's all good. No, you're good. Thank you for coming on, Ben. Like, we had a pro on the show. So
it's been my pleasure, and I'd be happy to be back sometime. Yay!
Thank you.
Nice, and you really did soldier through, man. I mean, for those that don't know, he was supposed to come on last week, but he had a bit of a medical issue, and he's still battling through it, and he still decided to come on and talk shit with us for.
He has tubes. He has tubes hanging out, and he's talking shit with us. And where do you live? East
I live
Coast?
in Houston, Texas,
Houston.
third coast.
Okay. And yeah, time difference too. So thank you. Thank you again.
You bet. It's almost midnight here.
Yep, that is true. And thank you for powering through, man. Can't thank you enough for that. So, Reen, you want to say where they can find you? Anything that you've been up to?
I'm on Fox with ya at Twitter, Instagram. Well, my Instagram's kind of in private mode right now, so just hit me up if you want to follow me. And then of course we are on Instagram, the iFox with Juice account. I'm actually running that one, so if you see anything weird, me talking shit, that it's me. It's not Juice. So
yeah, I run Twitter and I'm hit and miss with that. I'm not as active as I should be, but Reen does an excellent job on Instagram. I commend you, my co-host.
Yeah, I don't know if I should start reposting pictures of the fighters, this like the Cindy Downwall ones or not, but I might. We'll see.
Well, I'm cool with Cindy. She follows me.
I know, man. She's been looking hot lately. Yeah, there, I said it.
Yeah,
Don't
people
get mad. Get mad.
People on Twitter don't agree with us. At least half of them, but fuck it.
She looks. Oh my gosh, she looks amazing.
Cindy Dandois?
Yeah. You don't think so? Have you seen her pictures lately, Ben?
Yeah, I saw the stuff that she sent out over social media over the last week or so when she was saying she's looking for a fight.
Yeah, she be thirsty lately, but I'm not complaining. It says on my Instagram bio that I'm Cindy Dando's #1 fanboy, so everyone's aware of that.
She's a fighter. She's a mom.
With like 18 kids.
Damn, man. Good for her.
So, all right. So at iFoxTheJuice for Reen, basically on Instagram, at iFoxTheJuice on Twitter. I run that one. You can always catch where the show's at. I've been also doing more links on my WordPress at Juice MMA, www.juicemma.com. I'm going to start posting all the links of everywhere you can find the show, Spotify, Spreaker, iTunes. If you ever are having trouble finding it, you can see the link there. I usually post it on Twitter and you can see everything. And if you want to give the page a follow of my WordPress site, you can go ahead and do that too. So, and you can find me at Juice_MMA on Twitter and Instagram as well. So that's going to do it for us tonight. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Reen. We'll catch you guys all next week. Later.
See you guys.